when we get to Jack on the canal.
And the north.
Dan Botwe is my guest for the special conversation on the MMDCE's list release What Next. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. Dan Botwe, it's good to have you. It's been a while.
Thank you for having me, Alfred. Yes, it's been a while.
But have you wondered why the heightened level of expectation characterized this list over the period, for the last 8 months, over 8 months or so?
Well, I think it should be understood and it should be expected. Normally, these names come within the first 6 months of a new administration. This time, it's gone to, I think, the 8th month, also 9th month. So, naturally, people were anxious. They expected the names earlier. So that is it. Again, I also think that the technology, the use of social media has really increased. People really patronize these things. So it's very easy for people to, as it were, increase awareness. And then, as it were, the expectation also goes up. So that also, I think, is also part of it. Yeah, but a lot have been said, but we have been insisting that as long as there was a vacancy in any district, there was no vacancy.
There was no vacancy.
Apart from some 8 places. The 8 places, 2 I'm aware of that we lost the MDCs. Unfortunately, they passed on. And then there are about 6 who have become
members of parliament.
Members of parliament. Those places, you could really talk about vacancies. But even then, like is the practice, the regional ministers have oversight responsibility in those areas. Yeah, but for all the rest, I have many letters from DCs here. Some asking for development projects, some wanting to enter into memorandum of understanding with some other institutions, waste to energy, requests for markets, schools, and they come. And interestingly, they don't even sign their letters as acting DCs, as people call them. They sign their letters as DCs.
Substantive DCs.
Yes.
And you see, that's
so why they have been functioning. That's what the point I want to make, that they have been functioning as DC chief executives. So what people call delay, yes, but it's not as if delay there for inactivity, or the assemblies were not functioning, or this was not up to their task. They were not working. They were working.
The Honorable Roxanne Dafiam before is in court about this particular directive from the presidency in that communique that was signed by the chief of staff to have them act while you go through the process of selecting these new MMDCs, because of that acting role and the fact that they were not having, or they were not to exercise spending decisions, or they were not giving spending authority. In his argument, that created a problem, and you say that there was no problem in there? No problem,
because you see, some of these statements that were issued to government officials at various levels, you first have to also look at the peculiar situation of the assemblies, how they work. You go to assembly meeting, they have their budget, they have their plans, they are approved by the assembly. And you always have to understand the role of the presiding member as against the chief executive. I'm here to know of an example of which a district where, because refuse has to be collected, people have to be paid for work done, and that it wasn't done because of that directive of being in an acting capacity and therefore not spending beyond certain limit. I'm yet to know of any example of one district where anything like that happened. Because in any case, in the assemblies, who is going to spend some huge amounts for what? You understand? Yes. And in the early years, the assemblies work to their work plan. They present their work plan and they follow through. And once they have IGFs, if an assembly tells me that all the monies they raise through internally generated funds are there in the bank and they haven't touched it.
They haven't touched the IGF?
No, I'm yet to be told of an assembly that has where they haven't touched an IGF because of that letter that was written. It's not the case. No. Not the case. So I think people are just hyping some of these things. But in practice, that is not what is happening. Okay, so that's not what happened.
It's just because of what the letter said that they're not supposed to exercise spending or take spending decisions. You would expect that people would raise such questions that, indeed, if they're not supposed to take spending decisions, how do they run their assemblies?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that people will also want to find out, what is the reality, the practicality of it. Because these are things that are general, things that are issued to during the transition. But in the case of an assembly, can anybody say that since January, no assembly member has issued a check? This assembly has issued a check to anybody? Is that what they are saying? You could talk of some maybe big projects, like people brought here requests to sign memorandum of understanding, committing the whole assembly, and for that matter, if there's any problem, the central government will have to stand in. Those things, yes, you may want to ensure that you have the authority to do that, or even a clearance from the office of the Chief of Staff through the Ministry of Local Government. Those ones. But it's not as if the very, very little things that are done at the Assembly, they were collecting the monies anyway. They didn't stop collecting them. So I don't think that actually is the case.
So the other issue now is about the vetting that you put in and why it took this long, over 8 months. Can you tell the Ghanaian people why it took this long to put out the list?
Yeah, let's not link the two. I can confirm that vetting took place in 2017.
In 2017?
Yes. Yes, the same process. The same process took place in 2017.
2017?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the first time Mr. President had to appoint DCs, it went through the same process. So it's not as if there's a process which was instituted this time, that's why there was a delay.
Okay, I ask this because the Honorable Iti Mensah, who is a Council of State member, said that there was a certain change in the process and you had a thorough and extensive consultation which might have contributed to this 8-month period.
Yes, I'm saying that it's not as if the first time vetting took place. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. It took place in 2017. And again, Mr. President might have decided to also go further and do some more consultations. Because you see, at the district level, people are going to work with the chiefs, many stakeholders, that you have to do more consultation. So that could also account for what people say. But like I keep saying, I said from the outset that when people talk about a delay, emphasis is placed on when that has caused something untoward in the administration of the assemblies. But that is not the case. So that's why I don't want to place so much emphasis on the delay, because you had it. I mean, people, some of them who were DCs are still going to continue as DCs. And it was important to go through that process because you have Mr. President, President Alfred. And then you're appointing ministers 20, 28, 30. It's not that's difficult. But you have 260 districts. I keep asking people and challenging them whether anybody ever saw anywhere that this office, the Ministry of Local Government, or the Office of the President had placed an advert. All those who are interested in becoming DCs should apply. Never. There was no advert. There was no advert. Nobody invited people to apply. But just that, naturally,
people express interest.
People express interest. Because they felt that, well, we know that it has come to the end of the term, so this. And in some cases, you are there and you have such expression of interest about 20. I know of one to say 23, 18, 12, 10. So if you are President Alfred, what will you do? Will you just say, I know that by all means I'm going to give this position to Daniel. So whether 23 people have expected it or not, I'll not even look at it, I'll give to Daniel. You have people to manage. So let us set a person, let's listen to them. Maybe there will be something new that is so compelling that the original decision you've taken, you may have to look at.
I see. So two things. So the vetting is not new.
It's not new, yeah.
Secondly, even though the president instituted the vetting process, the recommendation of the vetting committee was not binding on the president?
Not at all.
So then why did he set up the vetting process?
No, but I don't know what happens in, is it TV3?
Yes.
You have a name?
Media General.
Media General. I'm sure you have committees who work at a certain level of management and send reports or recommendations to higher levels and then to maybe the board or the high management. We are not saying that when you have set committees and you submit reports, you have to take everything that they do. The works department, they say they want to go and buy 20 air conditions. Once you said, okay, there's the technical committee, should look at it. Whatever they bring, management should approve. Is that what we are saying? Because I keep hearing those questions. But in our everyday life, it happens. The coach of Blaster or for any team, he said, okay, I have a technical committee, go around the country and scout for me players so that I'll have my final 21 or 16 to play for the Blasters or for that team. They bring their report. The coach who bears the final responsibility said, fine, I'll be through on this. Me too, I've been watching the football. I think, no, for the defense, I think A, B, C, D should be the ones there. So I've selected them. And it is wrong. Why didn't coach Alfred accept all that the technical committee brought? It doesn't happen in our natural.
So I ask this because, you know, if you talk about the reason why the president set the vetting process in place, because at the local level, people had expressed interest.
Yes.
So you are managing people.
Yes.
So you have to set a process in place where their voices will be heard.
Exactly.
So then the vetting is done.
Yes.
The vetting committee presents a list, but then the president doesn't choose from any of
that's just what I've given you. It happens in our everyday life. You know, even in Article 278 of the Constitution, we have Commission of Inquiry. That is even statutory. When based on Article 278 of the Constitution, you set up a Commission of Inquiry. Don't we have government issuing white paper? Do they accept all the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry? They don't. But even when they have done that, even Commission of Inquiry, which is based on something, this one, I am President Alfred. I have to make appointments. 260. But I have almost 2,000 people who have shown interest. In all the work that a president is burdened with, that aspect alone, he should have time as one person to go through a list of 2,000 to select 260. Why? He has people at his disposal. So can you look through this list and print it down for me to say? It doesn't mean that he doesn't know that Alfred will go to District A. But if through some of the representations, there's a superior reason why originally I thought I want to maintain Alfred, why not? But if it comes and I say, no, I still think I should maintain Alfred in spite of all that I've seen. And for me, I find it so normal that I'm at times surprised why people are saying that, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do this? It's not a statutory thing. There's no law, no regulation anywhere that when the president wants to appoint DCEs, the articles that we quote in the Constitution 243 and then the Act 936, they just say the president shall appoint. They don't force Mr. President to come out how the process is going to use. He decides to do this and give people the chance. And I tell you, as Minister for Local Government, the advantage that I have for having witnessed some of this process, look, if later on we have time and I show you the CVs of people who came for this, I'm a hesitant call it vetting, but that interaction to select. We have so many people and we have all their data.
You have the data.
We are going to make use of all of them
so
to get involved in the process. Of the mere fact that people even show interest in positions, that alone is a very good sign.
To the extent that all politics is local, yes. and I know you know this, and that's why I'm sure the president instituted this so that the people will be heard at the level, the local level. So is this not going to hurt the party that you have recommendations from the party at the regional level and then there's a departure from the recommendations they made? How are they going to feel?
No. Again, correction. Parties didn't make any recommendation.
And so
individuals.
The individuals.
It's not as if the local party met and said, this is the person Mr. President wants you to choose. No. None, it did not happen that way. Individuals within the district presented themselves. Individuals within the district presented themselves, and they went through that screening. It's not as if parties made their representation. No, it's individuals.
But then again, you had some party people. I mean, this has been
all of them are party people, and they all know. And they all know that, oh, why not? Mr. President has the final say. Mm-hmm. And for us, we want to present ourselves so that he has a very rich database to make a selection from. And many of them were so happy that they were even given the opportunity to be heard. You understand? Mm-hmm. So for me, I sat there as somebody who was working the party before, and I sat there and I was so happy, the interaction that went on. I wish one day I'll show you some of the media, the notes that I made as the minister, the notes I made original in my own handwriting of the people who put themselves up, and how I was so keen in putting down everything, asking their contacts, what they do now, what they are prepared to do, even if they are not selected. And I'm so happy that we have in a country, and especially within the party, people who are prepared to put themselves up for service.
Because in a place like Chiriponi, which I know is always been a reference point for the number of conversations you had, it turned violent. Any pavilion that had the resemblance of MPP colors were burnt and pulled down. 12 people have been arrested, we understand. I mean, in an instance like that, their reason is that the person they felt should have been selected was not. He stepped down for the candidate in the area, was sort of a compromise that they sat with the party.
So that's the problem.
Because his name was going to be put up for DCE.
I have the problem when we put up these words. They, who are the they?
The party executives.
Exactly. You see, that's the issue. Party executives did not present any list. 1. 2. The people we saw behaving so disorderly on the television, how many were there? They represent the party in the district? The party is not the city or the town you saw. There are hundreds or tens of villages, hamlets all over the place. Who told you that those people had the mandate of the entire population in the district and the party? In any case, Mr. President is not appointing people for party appointing persons for party people in the district. No. So what about districts where our opponents had 95% of the votes cast? If you set that agenda and make it look as if this whole thing is about party, it's a dangerous thing.
But we don't know.
Parties can have elections. When you're having regional elections, constituency elections, you can put yourself up. It's strictly for the management of the party. This one is a state exercise for the entire Ghanaian population. So the person Mr. President nominates for approval of the assembly is not going to serve MPP. No. It's going to serve the whole population in the district. And it should be very clear to you. And there's only one instance out of the 260 should not be brought up for some justification sort of. No, they have absolutely no case, no basis. And I'm very happy that the police have acted strictly, and they should be dealt with according to law. So if you have 4 people who are competent and you select one person, does it mean that the rest are not also competent? No, but Bob is want to select one person. So what do you do? You know, so for the chip on it is nothing that anybody should make reference to as an example. Totally no reason, totally no base. So there are 4 people also who may be finally were selected for possible selection by Mr. President. If any other person was also selected and he took a group of admirers or relatives or friends also took to the say, what do you do? In any case, I just give you the example that 23 people came in some places.
Yes.
18 came in some places. 10, 8, 12. About 3 months ago, some of them at the regional level did not go through regional level.
They didn't go through the regional level?
Yes. Because if you are 23 people, they were supposed to bring about 4, shortlist about 4 people to us. So in one district, about 90 people didn't go through. In other places, 11 did not go through. In other places, 12. In other places, 15. In other places, 8. Did you hear anybody ban anything because they did not even pass through the regional vetting? Did he also have the right? Because for him, I know his fate 3 months ago. And as for me, I put myself up, and I did not even pass the regional level. What makes anybody who came up to the national level think that he's better, more qualified to use you as more lawyer and competent than those who were actually stopped at the regional level? So it's totally of that. You could have also gone on rampage.
We've seen Tema Central, Odio.
Nothing has happened. What has happened in Tema Central? Tema Central, some few people met and said that we thought that this person should have been. Well, they have expressed something by locking their party office, holding, having red banners, and then what do you call it, holding a press conference. There's nothing wrong with that.
The policies are Odio,
when some few people met and some tens of people met and bent ties, and even though the following day, other people also came out and said that, yeah, we want the person. So what happens? So in your 260, you can talk about some 3, 4 districts, and none of them is in the level of only one Tripoli. So in actual fact, we should be looking at how a selection process has been done, and it's been so successful that out of 260, you can talk of about only one, where there have been some disorderly conduct, not even having mass support from few people just gather and misbehaved. We just dismiss it.
Now, after this release, now look at how the next stage will look like. I read the Constitutional Review Commission's report, which is almost 11 years old. And they identified the difficulty in some cases having the 2/3 majority approve the process or the nominee.
Yeah.
Is this something that you have looked into and are concerned about, and maybe some thinking is going on to address some of the concerns that they raised in that commission's recommendation after identifying that problem?
Well, the commission's recommendations were made, I think 2010, 2011. Yes. It was commissioned by President Mills. Yeah, it's been there since the NDC government that succeeded President Mills never acted on it, even though they set up the committee and spent so much money. We never heard anything about what they did when President Mahama took over. Yes, but we, in our manifesto 2016, which we sold to the Ghanaian public, and they bought it and voted for it, we were so clear that we believe in partisan election of MMDCs on partisan basis. We are so clear about that. And that we know because it's an entrenched clause. There's the need to amend, I think, Article 55(3)
Yes.
To make political parties sponsor candidates in this assembly elections.
Yes.
And you have to go through the process, amendment, and building consensus to it. And Mr. President made it clear that since it's going to be about the first time that you're going to have a referendum to amend an entrenched clause,
yes.
He thought that we should not just do it because maybe you have some numbers, and that they should build consensus for it, which he started. There's a lot of stakeholder consultation, and we were fully convinced at that time, or convinced somehow, that the main opposition party was reversed, because some of the individuals in the key persons in the opposition party alluded to the whole position of not constitutional review, the partisan thing of ours
that was in your manifesto.
Yes,
the concern.
That's why we started the process. But so when it got to almost the final stage, and Mr. President saw that they were dragging their feet, he said, no, I don't want to push this thing through just because you can push it through. I think that there should be more consensus building, and therefore then we should put a hold to it and hope that we'll be able to convince others to come on board.
So you revisit this?
Well, it is in our 2020 manifesto.
When
clearly stated that we shall build consensus, deepen the process and build consensus towards that. And it has started. Our ministry, we have had a committee set up. So already some key civil society organizations who believe in this program, who did a lot of work behind the scenes, have protested their report so that we can narrow down the issues for which maybe we couldn't build consensus around. So that when we start now, we'll be able to focus on these issues and do that. And we had meetings here. I started the meeting. We had committees. They brought up proposals, and we're going to go through that. We will submit it to government, and then to get the whole society sensitized again, and see whether we can build that consensus.
So that conversation will definitely come up.
Oh again. Yes, it will. So you understand that. So is it the case that there's something to be taken, So don't take it alone. Let's share it. Is that what we are trying to put across? You understand? But I'm saying that there is nothing wrong in multi-party democracy. In fact, our constitution is against one-party state.
True.
Good. And the question is, the same Ghanaians, the same populace, they go to elections and they vote for political parties. In the sense that we do not even say that if I am contesting for elections, you have my photograph there, my picture there, then you have the logo of the party beside it for you to vote. People vote for a presidential candidate and within 2 minutes get another ballot and vote for a different party for the parliamentary. You understand? That same people are supposed to elect their DCE, and you are saying that it's a problem. It will bring polarization. We have about 30,000 polling stations. Okay? In that polling station, the person votes partisanly for A as against B, and when it comes to parliamentary, he votes for C as against D. The ordinary Ghanaian citizen takes part in that process. You are saying when it comes to DCE, he cannot do it because it will divide him.
You see, the CRC report that you say that you at least made an effort in your manifesto to actualize some of the recommendations they made in that regard.
No, we are not doing that.
So
we are against that
the whole
recommendations. Yeah, because we want the partisan one. They recommended a non-partisan
at different levels, because for them, the recommendations has the metropolitan. They want popular elections. They recommended popular elections. The municipal, the combination of nomination and then voting. Then at the district level, the president nominates, and then 50%, assembly elections. And that was not what you saw was.
So we thought there was no basis.
There was no basis for that recommendation.
Talk about big democracies all over, developed countries. What happens there? Even in Africa here. What's happening in Nigeria? What's happening in Kenya? What's happening in other cases? Are they not voting the same?
Well, yes, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, yes. But I mean, but there are other cases you can also refer to, like the likes of Uganda.
So why do you think,
for instance,
why do you think the average person in Nigeria can vote for somebody partisanly in the local government elections, but the Ghanaian cannot do? What confusion has been created for the countries who are doing that? And what do you think that as for us, we are not sophisticated enough to do that? Somebody will have to explain that.
Before we get into the process, the gender calls have come, and I'm sure that you've had some text messages or calls from gender-based groups. 38 out of the 260. I mean, that's about 14%. I mean, how do you explain this?
Well, I think we are across board in the society in general. The need to encourage women participation, not only in politics, but particularly in politics. From the local level, we expect many women to put out themselves for unit committee elections, for district assembly elections, and then when it comes to appointment too. Yes, I already told you that we did invite people, but people themselves showed interest. And the number of women also did show interest in some of these districts. And that's what the final result came out with the president's appointment. Well, I want to believe that someday all of us will work on and make sure that it's not only when it comes to the time of appointment, but even long before, there should be deliberate exercise to explain things, to get women to be interested in wanting to put themselves up or to make themselves available to be appointed into places, because it's very important. Personally, I don't believe that we should do something which is cosmetic. We should really get people who are interested and who really want to serve to be appointed, not because we just want to make the numbers, then we do. And that can also be done when people also show some interest. Yes, I do agree that you can actually poach people, but it's a difficulty that we're all trying to do. I mean, we do the numbers at Parliament all the time. We say political parties, why don't you also put up, for example, women in your safe seats, because they all know that there are some safe seats. There are seats that once you put up a candidate, your party is almost 100% sure to win.
Like Okere.
Therefore, put up a lady. And across board, I mean, those who push for this more increase of women have been meeting us for a long time. I mean, when I was the general secretary, there were meetings that they come and say, nah, so put women in your safe seats. If you are really committed, at least for a start, do that for us. You understand? Yes. So I agree. But I guess your point that it doesn't happen. I want to believe that it's something that we should all work on, that we can increase women participation, get them more interested, and get them appoint more, so that when they work, it will also attract other younger ones that, oh, I've seen this person, he was very active and he was able to deliver, so me too, I want to follow. It's not anything that we want to argue about. We should all work to make sure that we increase women participation.
Wonderful. And you know, the local government service engages in a very, very productive exercise of ranking these assemblies. You know, does that play any role in, for instance, decisions on retaining a particular person at the district or municipal level?
Well, that in addition to many other factors.
Okay, I see.
Because you agree with me that, well, it's possible that a person is doing maybe what is expected of him and all that. But as to, I'm not saying that's the case, but I want to give an example just on top of my head. If, after all the competence and all that is done according to the rules, the person doesn't seem to have very good human relations. He's getting himself involved in some chieftaincy disputes and religious activities, you know, which can, as it were, go against all the good things that is being done. You may not see that because he was on top of the league and he was assessed around the
district league table.
League table, therefore, by all means, he should go. It will play a role, or it should play a role. I do admit that. But in addition to other factors, will have to be taken into consideration.
I see. So after this point, 260 names put up. Walk us through the process. What next? What happens?
Well, before Sunday, we have written to the regional minister, presenting the list from Mr. President to them. And they, being the head of the regional coordinating councils, we're now going to liaise with the district assemblies, the presiding members, and also the regional director of the Electoral Commission, who will then talk to the district directors of the Electoral Commission. The order 15, yes, I'm sure of that, order 15 of the model standing orders of district, municipal, and metropolitan authorities. That's right. Order, talks about how we will go the process, procedure for approval of nominee of the president. So that is clearly stated there, and that's available to all the regional ministers. They will have to write to the secretary of each assembly, presenting to him the nominee of Mr. President. And the order says that when the secretary receives such correspondence, he has within 21 days to organize for the confirmation process.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the order goes on to state that you should get, the law says you get 2/3 majority of members of the assembly present and voting.
Present and voting.
Yes.
And you are sure that this process would end within the stipulated period?
Oh, yes.
For the numbers you put out?
I'm very confident. The regional ministers, they expected it. They are working towards that. And I'm sure people also want their districts to be functioning very well, especially when they are talking of delay in appointing. And now you have the person appointed, and you have to have the full complement of the assembly so that you can really get on working. You do not confirm the person. I'm not saying it's compulsorily you should do so, but if you do not confirm, then you should expect that you have to go to another process of nomination for you to come back again. And therefore...
the ask is because we're used to have the disagreement that characterizes this process of
some of them,
Yes, so it doesn't mean that the names put up would automatically be approved.
But I want to believe that these are people, their selection went through a rigorous process, and they will satisfy the aspirations of the broad mass of the people across board. And I'm very confident that many of them, within the next 10 days after the submission of the name, it's not when the names were announced, when the regional ministers write to the secretaries or the, what do you call it, the assemblies, they start counting from there.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's a clarification for the 10 days, because I have seen
the
this
21 days.
Yeah, you were quoted as saying some 10 days.
Now, I'm saying that so, I'm very confident
so
that,
I need that
when that name gets to the assembly, I'm confident within 10 days. Because like you are saying, the whole discussion is that people have been waiting for it.
Yes.
You should have gotten the names in 6 months. Now you got it in 8 months.
So
now that you get it, why would you want to delay in the further delay in the confirmation process?
Some people say you intentionally delayed it because you don't have money. Your assembly, the district assembly's common fund is in arrears. I
agree. I wonder if it were the case. That if you don't appoint a DC, even though I've told that there was no vacancy in the so far as I'm concerned, that argument has no legs to stand on, because there was no vacancy. They were functioning. And it's also the case that if you don't appoint a DC, so-called fresh, then the money that should have gone to the assembly, they will lose it. Then you have a point. First quarter is gone. You always get the quarter after the quarter had, as it were, you pass the first quarter or the second quarter. So, right from, I've been in Parliament since 2009. Nobody gets paid in the first quarter or in the quarter.
So you owe the district assembly.
You always do that. And they always owe. In 14 or 15, one particular quarter in the year, they have to spread it over the following year. You understand it? I'm not saying it's a good thing, something that we should be proud of. But I'm saying that it does happen. That for that common fund always being in arrears has been the practice. It's not linked to the appointment of new NDAs.
So you've paid first quarter 2021?
Yes, we've paid that.
So you owe second and third?
Second. Third is there to end.
So when will you pay the second quarter?
Second, I'm sure we should pay it before the end of the third quarter.
It's
been something that we've been talking about for some time. The process of, getting regular release of common fund. Yes. So it's a matter for discussion on its own. But just that it should not be linked to the appointment of the DCs, because there's no linkage. It's not as if you lose the money because you did not appoint it at a particular time. You don't lose the money. It's still the money for the people, and it will still be sent for development. Okay.
So how would the performance of the MMDCEs be monitored? Is there a process in place?
Yeah, there's a process. But I think that with all that has happened, I want to believe that apart from those league tables and that, internally, Gua's government appoints them either quarterly or every half yearly, the performance of the assemblies, how they are relating to people. And I am expecting, since there's so much interest, people want to become district chief executive. For me, they want to serve the people. If you want to serve the people, you should convince Mr. President, because in the constitution that they are the chief representative of the central government. That's how they are described, as a district chief executive.
Chief representative
of the central government. So if you are so, then you should be seen to be functioning that way. How, as a minister working on behalf of Mr. President, I want each district chief executive to convince me that in every quarter, whether you have really had consultation or interaction with the various stakeholders, the chiefs in your jurisdiction, the religious leaders in your jurisdiction, other stakeholders, association of teachers, artisans, market women, the driver unions, name them. These are segments of the stakeholders who you should be able to interact with, so that whatever you do will be a reflection of the aspirations of the people. We are going to demand that. So, and occasionally when we had to interact with someone, we said, look, fine, Mr. President may appoint you, but get it clear. Once you are appointed, you do what is expected of you as a district chief executive. And that one, I'm sure all those who really wanted to hold these positions are very clear about that. And we are going to demand that from them.
You see all these interest groups that you run, in most cases, they're not consulted. There's no form of consultation, and that's one of the problems that
I want to speak to what I know will happen this time. And
so you're going to correct what is
well, I'm not confirming that it did not happen, but I'm not confirming that.
No, I'm saying I'm telling you.
I'm saying that
that's what
I'm
happens.
saying what's going to be done. There is going to be a dashboard in the Ministry of Local Government, decentralized. You know, our name has changed.
Yes.
It's local government decentralization and rural development. And there's a reason why Mr. President brought about that change. And there's something in the name. We really have to not just talk about decentralization. It should be seen to be working. People should take their destiny in their own hands and manage the expectations, the needs of the people, and tailor measure policies that satisfy their localities. You understand? And we're going to make sure we do that. And this regularly reports we're going to demand from them. And there's going to be real supervision. You know, one thing again is the Act 936. Yes. I think many of us need education at Act 936. Many of us. My brother, if you get to know the functions of the district assembly, the committees under the district assembly, meet an assembly member and ask him, which of the subcommittees do you belong to? Have you attended a meeting before? When an assembly meeting is advertised, do you talk to the people in your electoral area, the stakeholders, before you attend the meeting? And if you attend the meeting, do you come back and brief them? What about the youth committees within your electoral area? How many times do you meet them? You understand? Because there's the school of thought that if people are really working and understanding these things and governmental activity goes on in the local area, this whole business that we are far away from government will not come. You know very well, I'm sure, that in some dispensation, people don't even know who the president or the president. They don't even care. In their own borough or local area, that is it. And this is what we should do, because Chapter 20 of the Constitution, the heading is decentralization in local government. You read Chapter 6 of the Active Principle of State Policy. It talks about Parliament coming out of laws and regulations to make sure that things get down to the people on at the local area. And this is what Mr. President is so committed to that, and to bring to the fore the need to focus on decentralization and to complete that whole process. That is why that name was created. And he's giving firm instructions to be properly and regularly briefed on our work towards that. And I can assure you that we're going to do
that's been proven to be the most sustainable path to development. I mean, and decentralization. So the point is that now we're going to make sense of the word decentralization by putting a lot more work into it, as against the lip service that we've seen paid to.
And especially at the regional level. If you take Act 936, so many pages on the work, they call it decentralization at the regional level. The planning functions that should happen at the regional level, the other functions, and the planning functions at the district level. You need to read a whole page, 2 pages of the 936 concerning the assembly. There are 27 clauses when you talk about how to get a building regulations. In an assembly, 27 clauses in the 936. You should not be arguing about whether somebody got a permit or not. Did the planning committee meet? Did the planning committee meet? Where are the minutes of the meeting? And how was the permit issued? These are things that we're going to challenge people to come out and work with, and possibly advertise on your website, or tell us, bring a report to the regional level. As this assembly, how many work permits or building permits have you issued? And why did you issue them? And where? Give us the digital of the place you did. So that when we say it's in a waterway, you'll be held responsible. People will have to be sanctioned for doing that. I'm very clear in my mind.
I think it's pretty interesting. So how are you going to, is there any plan to educate people about this?
We're going to do that. There's a whole plan. We're waiting for this process to end. We are also going to come back to the media, because it's something that we should want to do. Time with this. What does Atlantic say? We'll get support of the media. And I think I answered the question on Sunday when somebody talked about NCC. And when I made reference to the Atlantic, the subcommittee that should exist in each assembly, first name NCC.
Should have a
so it's not as if you are going to even now employ the staff for NCC. It's captured in the law. They are members of it. They have complaints committee. They have a stakeholder can petition the assembly. And there's a whole communication, how assembly should communicate and get the people involved in what they do. They have complaints division. If anybody has any complaint, he should be able to file it at the assembly and demand within a certain stipulated time, demand response. People will be educated on that. We will use all manner of platforms to do that, the religious one, at festivals, through the media, and to get the whole community to sensitize that look at your local area, be involved in the local dynamics of in your community, and get stakeholders accountable. That's the vision of Mr. President, and I can assure that to be pursued.
I'm sure you've heard the concerns of the people of SALL, Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likbe. Yeah. When is the Guan district going to be inaugurated?
The Guan district, I'm very sure, will be inaugurated in a matter of weeks. And I'm talking of in less than a month, it will be inaugurated. A lot of consultation.
In less than a month?
Oh, yes. We've done a lot of consultation. Yeah, because I led the delegation to Guan as district myself. Yeah, that's why I want people to understand. I chose a date and I went there. It's not as if somebody gave you ultimatum to go there. I went there myself. I felt this. We have been discussing, talking, having a lot of discussion. Because, you know, there's a peculiar situation in that area. And it's important that when we are doing these things, I believe in a lot of stakeholder consultation, especially with the chiefs in those areas. You know, and then we have 4 parliaments in that area. Yeah. So we met. And one of the key people who are championed that agenda is also our eminent statesman, Dr. Obeda Samoa. And we went, and then he was also involved. He was there, and all the chiefs. I remember, if you talk to your colleague, the media, we asked each of the 4 traditional areas to speak, confirm whether they are ready for the inauguration.
And they all
spoke and said they were ready for it. And they said, okay, fine. Now that you've done. They themselves had suggestions as to some of the facilities available before the government pushed out that. And it was one of their citizens had a very nice building for his own private building. He said he had given that for the district headquarters of the assembly at Lekpe Mate. And we all went there to inspect it. But it's somebody's private building. And to put it in an administrative and an office, you have to do some what will you call it? Renovations to make it suitable for that. After that, you need departments, you know, education, health, name them. All these departments have to be in place. So they also themselves, very, very enthusiastic, the Guan people. Various traditional areas. Oh, we can give you this to host the health directorate for the meantime. We can give you this to host education. We can give you this to host agric. And if you take this book, which is, as you say, that's why I want people to understand. Now, it's not because of what people are trying to do. Report on the assessment of conducted on the existing facilities in the Guan district.
I see.
August 2021.
So I wanted to show this to the camera.
Yeah. August 2021.
So I see.
Yes. So a lot of, we believe in, Mr. President directs us, proper planning, consultation. And in this, you can even see, apart from the cost of everything, you can see some buildings that have been offered that will call for renovation in different areas. You can see. So we just don't, talk and leave it. We really got down. You see all these things. People are offering their places. But you may understand that some of these places have to be completed. You have to put in some money to do all that. We can easily just go and integrate the office and say, you want the office, we have done it. But you don't do things cosmetic. You have to, you are serving the people. And when you are dealing with the people, you should be transparent with them. You understand? So all these things have been done. And it comes with a budget. We're going to do that. And we are very confident that the negotiation will take place within the next 4 weeks. One, the ministry doesn't have the authority to post people there.
Certainly.
The local government service. And so this committee that went, apart from our initial visit as a ministry, included that from Dr. Atuate's office, the local government service.
I see.
So it's their duty. I think they tell me about 80 people who have to work within, not less than 80 within the assembly. But at least for a start, you need a coordinating director, director of work, director of administration, internal audit, and you have to push them from experienced people from the neighboring or some districts to form the nucleus for them to kick off. Maybe some staff of 15, 20 to kick off while they keep on increasing their number. So very well thought of the plan for them. And they are the last baby in the assembly thing, and they are going to be taking very good care of.
So the people of SALL can look forward to this, that in less than a month,
oh yes,
the Guan district
yes
will be inaugurated.
I'll be there myself.
This paves way for the creation of the constituency and all of that.
Government, the executive, can only talk about creation of a district.
Okay.
That's what Mr. President promised them, and because he delivers on his promise, it's being done. It's been created and to be inaugurated. Constituencies are created by electoral commission, so we don't get involved in that.
The Honorable Dan Botwe, thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
Appreciate it. He is the Minister in charge of local government, decentralization, and rural development. Taking us through the process after the release of the much anticipated list. Now, the weight is off him. The process has started. We'll monitor it every step of the way and certainly bring you some more details as it pans out. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
My name is Alfred Ocansey, and this has been an exclusive special interview with the Honorable Dan Botwe to understand this whole process of the MMDCE's list that has been released, what the next step is, and other related matters of importance to you, the viewer out there. Thank you very much for watching.